Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Well, this particular issue of ISKCON News is entitled Krishnadarians.
Krishnadarians, okay.
And
you're
it's
making-
about the milk.
Right.
Where, so many devotees, because they don't want to, they understand the implications of supporting the commercial dairy industry
Right.
and how awful it is, that they've become vegans
Right.
because they can't get cruelty-free
Correct.
dairy products. So what we're trying to help them understand, there's a number of devotees also, Kamarupa Prabhu in Care for Cows in
Yes.
Vrindavan, Prabhupada Prabhu, Food for Life Global,
Yes.
was
correct.
actually coined this phrase, Krishnadarians.
Krishnadarians. Okay, this is fairly recent, maybe? Or
No, he's had this phrase for a long time, it's just more and more
okay.
rising to the surface.
Okay. Krishnadarians. Yes.
Where we're not opposed to taking dairy products because it's part of, Krishna's Leela,
Yeah.
Krishna's activities. Krishna is a cowherd boy. It's not
Right.
that he took birth. Yes, he did. But these activities are eternal. It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a story that happened at one time and it's
Correct.
no longer relevant.
Yeah.
So to understand the importance actually that dairy products are actually very important in a Krishna conscious lifestyle, but from cows who are being protected.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yes. So would you say that, because I also have recently encountered a seemingly increasing number of devotees who, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, are taking a position of, veganism, becoming vegan. And, as devotees, we have to look closely, well, is this part of our policy? And if Prabhupada never spoke about,
This is the whole vegan thing
yeah,
didn't exist when Prabhupada was
right,
here.
right. So we, of course, like those who are vegans, want to understand the need and importance of giving full, complete protection to Mother Cow. But we also understand the importance and the value of milk in many ways.
There's one verse which I use a lot where Prabhupada, in the first half of the purport, Prabhupada is glorified. And he refers to it with a certain phrase which you don't hear coming up in these arguments about vegan and like this.
Right.
So if I could read to you.
Yes. Is that the one you speak about religious, liquid religiosity? Nice term, no?
Well, that is what we really need to focus on.
Yes.
And that's what, by protecting cows, we're supposed to be deriving.
Right.
Okay, so this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text number 3.
Although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by a Shudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field.
Well, there's two verses I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
One is this one,
Yes.
where if you follow sentence by sentence, it's actually a step-by-step tutorial how Prabhupada takes you
Okay.
from the beginning of cow protection to the culmination of
Okay.
the implementation
Yes.
of cow protection. So here, Prabhupada starts. The next symptom of the age of Kali is the distressed condition of the cow. That we're already seeing. It's in full force.
Yeah.
Milking the cow means drawing the principles of religion in a liquid form. So Prabhupada is telling us what milk represents. Liquid religiosity.
Yes.
The great rishis and munis would live only on milk. Srila Sukadeva Goswami would go to a householder while he was milking a cow, and he would simply take a little quantity of it for subsistence. Householder. Okay. Sadhu comes to the householder. Even 50 years ago, no one would deprive a sadhu of a quart or two of milk, and every householder would give milk like water. For a Sanatanist, a follower of Vedic principles, it is the duty of every householder to have cows and bulls as household paraphernalia.
That's pretty clear, right?
For two reasons. Not only for drinking milk,
Right.
but also for deriving religious principles. There is the hook. Not only for drinking milk,
Yes.
but for deriving religious principles. And that's not being,
Yeah.
The Sanatanist worships cows and religious principles and respects Brahmins. The cow's milk is required for the sacrificial fire. Swaha.
Yes.
And by performing sacrifices, the householder can be happy.
Yes.
So in this first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is glorifying milk, not only for drinking, not only for the sacrificial fire, but all of these are actually for deriving religious principles. Kali Yuga is an age devoid of religious principles. So by protecting cows, we're actually putting back into society the social order of things,
Right.
religious principles.
Yes.
The cow's calf not only is beautiful to look at, but also gives satisfaction to the cow, and so she delivers as much milk as possible. So these are all mode of goodness activities,
Correct.
which are beneficial. They're serving the sadhus, they're serving the deities, they're serving the sacrifices, to please Krishna.
Yes.
Okay, now Srila Prabhupada is giving us all of these positive attributes why we should have dairy products and why the householders should take care of cows and bulls as household paraphernalia.
And the point being that if we become vegan, we'll miss out on all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we're not vegans.
Yeah.
This is not us. Although some of us, because we don't want to support, we can see, our eyes are wide open as to the dairy industry.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Right.
Which
So
Prabhupada is now
yeah.
going to explain in the purport.
So we sympathize with
Sympathize.
vegans who are concerned about the mistreatment of cows, but not to the point that we, do not or cannot or should not utilize milk from protected cows.
Right.
Who are not
Right.
suffering, who are happy to do that because that's part of their dharma.
Yeah. And when we used to travel back in the 80s and 90s with the oxen, we would do Rath Yatras and other shows, vegans would approach us all the time. And they say that, oh, you're exploiting the cows. Anyway, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother. But I would ask them, if you could get dairy products from cows that are protected, cruelty-free, lifetime protection, would you take dairy products? 95 out of 100 said yes.
Yeah.
If they knew
Correct.
that those activities they were participating in.
Yes.
Okay. So, you get these really hardcore guys. And
Correct.
so now we're going to get into the second half of this purport. But in the Kali Yuga, the calves are separated from the cows as early as possible for purposes which may not be mentioned in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. The cow stands with tears in her eyes. The Sudra milkman draws milk from the cow artificially, and when there is no milk, the cow is sent to be slaughtered. Now Prabhupada categorizes or classifies these activities. These greatly sinful acts are responsible for all the troubles in present society. Do we want to contribute to that? No. People do not know what they're doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in the darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, they must try to see the cows and the bulls happy in all respects. Foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making the cows and bulls happy, but it is a fact by the law of nature. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principles for the total happiness of humanity. So if we adopt these above-mentioned principles in the beginning of the purport, then humanity is going to benefit by the fact that religious principles are being derived. The social order is becoming purified like this. But if we continue on with these mode of ignorant, violent, exploitive activities which the dairy industry is known to be following, then
humanity will not be happy. Opposite.
Right. So it's, Prabhupada lays out step by step, if you do this, then this is the result. If you do this, then this is the result. But this phrase, deriving religious principles, is one that you will not hear very often in regards to this milk controversy, which really shouldn't be a controversy. It just depends. Can we really actually put it together as an institution or a society, ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to show this lifestyle of being conscious of Krishna, and the fact that he is the cowherd boy.
Correct.
So,
such a scenario or such a situation, I would say, can only come when we actually build up communities of conscientious individuals, means devotees, who will be able to actually live out the pages of the Bhagavatam, the message of the Bhagavatam, because we can speak about it, we can read about it, we can hear, but unless we put ourselves in that kind of situation, and that's why our philosophy is meant to be understood and lived on two levels. We have to understand nicely the philosophy. More important, or as important, how to apply that philosophy, isn't it? Applied,
practical
how
application.
to live, how to demonstrate, how to, and that's been, we have some understanding, but I would say that because we've not been able to apply it, means our understanding is missing. It's not so profound.
Right. Prabhupada explains about chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Yes.
It says like a jar of honey. If you're looking on the outside of the jar, you may be chanting, but you really have to pop the lid and get into that jar of honey. You will have that taste, you will have that realization. The same thing is true with book distribution, with deity service, taking care of the children, and cow protection is one can have sentiment for the cows and the calves, but then when one comes and actually takes care of them, not only in good times. I mean, recently we rescued 8 calves.
I've read about that.
Is that, oh yes, the calves are running, they're playing, they're happy.
Yeah.
But what happens when they get sick?
Yeah.
Which we've had a couple of bouts. First we had scours where their diet had to be altered, but not only altered the diet, but the scours had to be addressed. So they're sick. They're running happy, frolicking is okay. Now they're sick. So again, we had another situation where the calves got some bronchial problems, where they had to be have some injections and like that. So they also Phil and Sukyanti, they were hands-on in that. So they've gone through. It's not just.
Yes.
So they've developed an attachment.
Yes.
So this happens,
Yeah.
whether it's book distribution or whatever, but especially with the cows, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a Bhagavatam class.
Correct.
It's an actual lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole element of, I cannot speak so much from long-standing experience, although I've had some experience. There's a question of reciprocation that is meant to take place. It's like, a mother or father, but especially a mother, because mothers are the ones in the early life that look after the children, So there's a reciprocation, an exchange, right, between the child and the mother. And children are like, the cows are like children. They're dependent, very much dependent. And unless one actually spends time and like they're doing, for example, then they can get to experience all different aspects of what it means actually to look after cows. And most of our devotees actually, they're fortunate in that somehow Krishna has inspired them, and they're convinced that it's really important for us to get some training, to get some exposure and whatnot. But most of our devotees, at best, they might come and visit a place for an hour or whatever like that, but to actually spend, time,
Seva.
Yeah, and to do seva service for the cows, very few of us are doing that. Of course, Prabhupada encouraged that we do that, and was explaining that, we should be encouraging devotees to come and to spend valuable time so that they can begin to understand more. Otherwise, it's just like theoretical. Yeah.
Well, it's like we've always, they have, training or seminars, educational programs, how to become a Brahmin, how to become a guru, how to become, and we've always tried to, there should be training program, how you become a cow herder, how do you relate to the cows, how do you run a farm, how do you do that?
Yes.
But, it's never been supported in enough that it can become
Correct.
more universal or more, substantially looked at and supported. And what you were mentioning before about how what we need is communities in order to, to do this cow protection.
Yes.
What we've come across in all these years is that we have individuals come and they, on their own volition to get, training and understanding. And then they want to do this, the idea is, for them to go and do it themselves in other places, to spread this around.
Yes.
That is the difficult step.
Yes. Yes.
Because, and that's happened time and time again through the years that we've been here. How many years now?
19, going on 20 years.
Going on 20 years. And we've trained several young men.
Yes.
And some of them very capable.
Yes.
But it was that next step.
Correct.
They didn't have the funds.
Yeah.
They didn't have the support.
Yeah.
They didn't, they couldn't, it's hard to do alone.
Yes.
And it's like, so that's what really concerns me, is that I see all these people who come and get training and are learning something, and then their skills almost become wasted because there's no support system.
Within our ministry in India, we've been discussing for the last 1 year, 1 or 2 years, how, at least I many times I've been voicing this, how within our ISKCON society, we need to have some transitional kind of system or period to facilitate young people, especially, because generally it'll be younger people who will,
Oh yeah, definitely.
who can even do this.
Yeah.
So we need to have like a transitional period whereby they will be supported, so that kind of move can because otherwise the way society is arranged, it's practically impossible,
Yeah.
And we've not been giving that kind of support up to now, unfortunately, and that's one of the reasons why it hasn't happened, and therefore it's frustrating like anything.
It's very, I can't imagine, like Anutama Prabhu has said to me once, well, you trained all these people how to work with oxen, but where are they now? I said, it's on you.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
the reason you're not seeing this is because ISKCON is not giving support to these people to do these things.
Yes.
It's not because we haven't trained them or we
Correct.
haven't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
where do they go
Or
afterwards?
because they lost interest in it.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. Correct. Yeah.
It's
No,
like-
there has to be, and that brings us back to actually how, you know, in the Vedic culture, it was in the king's best interest to make sure that that these communities and the villages, we're talking about villages, would be supported in all kinds of ways, because the kings of those days, who were, you know, Vedic kings, who had this understanding very clearly, they knew that actually the whole economy of the country is based on this. You know, I was making reference to what is called, in our Shastra we have what is called Char Vidya, 4 sciences. Vidya is translated as knowledge, but is also translated as science. There are 4 main sciences, and one of them, 3 of them are directly connected with the Dvijas. The Brahmanas, their science is actually the Vedic knowledge, Shastra. The Kshatriyas, their science is, you know, the science of politics, the science of governance, you know, and there are books of governance in our Shastra as well. And then the Vaishyas, their science is the science of economics, and that's based on Krishi Varakshavarijam, isn't it? I was mentioning briefly. And for all of these 3, there's another science which is called the science of philosophy, understanding some basic philosophical, you know, so that has to do with essentially one of the portions of philosophy has to do with all the knowledge that is there in the Bhagavatam. So the point I'm making is that actually, unless we have this kind of understanding very clearly, then we won't know how to, you know, we may train some individuals, but unless our leadership, so I was making the point that, you know, Kshatriya kings before had this understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we are lacking that knowledge. We are lacking that understanding, and therefore, although individuals like yourselves, possibly, and others are having programs to train individuals, then they're left. The next step doesn't happen, as you already point out.
It's like very few people can make the next step. I mean, it takes good, you know, gargantuan effort.
Yes.
Or, you know, most people, I can't do that.
Correct.
It's like a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like a huge.
So traditionally, kings would offer all kinds of support mechanisms. Now those support mechanisms are absent, and therefore that's one of the reasons. I would say, major reasons why it's not
Well,
happening.
that is the fact.
It makes sense, no?
That is the fact, and it's like it seems like we're spending a lifetime trying to bring this to the forefront, that it's
Right.
important enough that this is important, that it has to be supported, and
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
we're not getting very far. You know.
In the class this morning, there was a question that came up at the end of the class, Bhagavatam class in the temple, and it had to do with, well, you know, because I ended up speaking naturally about Varnasrama and its importance and whatnot. And then one of the questions was, well, you know, there's a lot of controversy, in terms of our leadership, you know, how to tackle and how to make certain decisions regarding the controversial topic. I was making the point that actually we need to have, which we don't have right now within our ISKCON society, a what we call a foundational document, foundational paper, which entails doing some research. Of course, everything is there in Prabhupada's books and lectures and whatnot, but to bring it in such a way, just like recently we came out, our society has come out with a foundational book on Srila Prabhupada, who was a founder Acharya. It took 7 years to make. a lot of research, and main person was Varnasrama-Dharma Prabhu, but he had a lot of help from other people as well. Point I'm making is that before we begin, we means leadership within our ISKCON society, before we take major decisions, which we're about to be taking soon actually, in certain respects connected with Varnasrama as well, we should have a thorough, clear, in-depth understanding of what, how to apply Varnasrama in present-day context, without losing any of the, there are primary instructions, right? Prabhupada explains about primary and secondary. You can adjust. He adjusted secondary instructions. Okay, his spiritual master ordered his disciples to chant 64 rounds. Prabhupada adjusted it, secondary instruction. But chant Hare Krishna, that's the primary instruction. So like this, within the context of Varnasrama, it's really, it's something we've really not come to grips with yet. And especially on the leadership level, very, very important to make that in-depth, I would say, study, and to make practical recommendations that we can do, which will necessitate also providing the necessary support mechanisms. So, anyways, hopefully some of these things will, develop.
The milk is produced by the cow, but it is not meant for the cow, it is meant for the human being. If you offer the milk, 30 pounds of milk, after milking the cow, and if you offer to the cow, it will refuse. It will refuse. I don't want. Give it dry grass, it will very dry. It will very. So, everything is organized by the nature.